My brother, he decided to steal every one of my business ideas for Grandpa and the family business. Because number one, he's lazy. Number two, he doesn't want to work. He wants to mooch off of other people's hard work, and I'm so sick of it. My grandpa, trust him more because he's a man and I'm a female, and for some reason he thinks that's why my brother will be better at running the business. But guys, he's in for a rude surprise when I set my brother up to be exposed. Let's see what I do. My name's Emma, and this is my story, and I'm just writing it with a very heavy heart. I needed to vent, and I needed some suggestions, so I'm sharing my story with you. A week ago, I was shocked when I got to know that my younger brother had just stolen all the ideas that I've planned for a new company. I'd worked really hard on it, and I was going to present them to my grandfather so he could approve them or not. I was working on them when my brother was walking into my room one day. We were not really close, but he casually asked what I was doing, and I told him that I was figuring out some plans for a new company. He showed interest in it and pressed me for more information, so I just shared everything with him in details, and I should not have done that, but I was just glad at the time that my irresponsible little brother was listening to business plans and that perhaps he would finally start working instead of wasting his time. I did not know that he was going to steal them and present them as his own ideas. I did not even know, that this was going on in his mind. I got to know about it last night when all of us were having dinner together, and my grandfather started to appreciate my brother and announced that he had brought some interesting ideas for the business. As he explained the details, my mouth dropped open. They were the plans that I shared with him a few days ago. I looked at my brother in disbelief, and I confronted him right there in front of everyone. He denied everything and said that I was lying. So I told my grandfather that he had stolen all of my ideas and that I was going to share these ideas with him. My grandfather did not believe me even for a second. He said that I should not be jealous of my own brother and that I should work on my own ideas. I was about to cry, so I left the table angry, and I got to my room and I locked it. I cried. Maybe to some it would not look like a big deal, but I've been working really hard on those plans, and now my brother has taken the credit for all my work. And my grandfather thought that I was jealous of my brother, and my head just got so messed up. I belong to a well-off family. My family owns multiple businesses, and see, my grandfather has always been a source of inspiration for me. He began from nothing and established a huge business all by himself. He's a very talented, hard-working guy, and I've always looked up to him, and that's where my passion for business comes from. I've decided at a very young age to be a successful person like him in the field of business. I spent my time taking tips from him, and I always made observations to learn from him. I worked hard in high school as I really wanted to get into the best college for business. I spent my days and nights studying and just recalling things that I'd learned. Finally, my efforts and hard work paid off as I got accepted into the school of my choice, and not just that, I was offered a 50% scholarship. It was a huge milestone that I achieved, and my parents were proud of me, and I was really, really happy about it. But the person that I wanted to impress the most was, of course, my grandfather. That was the first time I saw a glimpse of joy as I told my grandfather about my admission and the scholarship. However, I saw an element of disbelief in his expression, as if he did not believe that somebody like me could do that. Nonetheless, I was in the sky from all the happiness. My grandfather has been very patriarchal in a lot of ways. He'd always believed men to be superior to women in a lot of ways. See, I observed it since I was a child, that he prioritized my younger brother over me. My parents, they were different. They'd never done anything like that. But my grandfather had some really old mindset where he thought that no matter what a woman did, she would always be inferior to a man. This mindset had made me angry, but I was not allowed to express it openly the way I wanted to. Perhaps it was one of the reasons that I'd always wanted to win his love and satisfaction. I wanted him to realize that I could be just as good as men can. My younger brother has never been that hardworking when it came to studies. He just studied enough to pass his exams, and he was never really ambitious and clear about what he wanted to achieve in his life. He was sort of spoiled by our grandfather. He always looked for shorter ways to do things, and the truth was that he never got any work done. It was clear that I was the ambitious one and the hard-working person between the two of us. But he always got all the appreciation and favors from grandfather. I've always been very patient with everything I faced, all of it in very calm ways. But now it had just gotten to be too much. It was wrong on so many levels, and my brother turned out to be a thief, and this way he would never do anything by himself. He'll always step on other heads just to get what he wants, and I know that I cannot just stay silent. I need to do something about it, and I'm not going to let it go. What do you guys think about all of it after listening to the incident? I need some suggestions to deal with this situation, and I'm telling you, any advice would be so appreciated. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. So today's story is an interesting one. But guys, I'm going to tell you right now, things are about to get a lot more interesting. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing for daily videos. And yes, I have update number 1 right here for you. Update number 1. Thank you so much for your suggestions. This is what happened next so far. After that night, I kept thinking about what I should do, but I didn't really come up with a plan per se. 2 days later, I was sitting in the garden when my brother walked in. I was just unable to stop myself from confronting him and asking him why he had done such a cheap thing. I really let out all my anger and frustration, and I said everything that I'd kept my inside of my heart. His answer made my blood boil even more. He said that he was going to inherit the business, and he was going to be the owner of all of it one day, and therefore he should participate and do more than I'd been planning to do. He also pointed out that I was a woman, so I was supposed to not get too involved in the business. Well, obviously, I was astonished to even hear him say that. I could see my grandfather's reflection in all the dumb things that he was saying to me. I was just staring at him in utter shock and disbelief, and I made up my mind that I was not going to let this go, and I was going to make sure to teach him a valuable lesson for things that he had done. So I decided to go to my mom and tell her everything in detail. Well, she believed me without any sort of doubt. She said that she knew her son really well, and he was extremely irresponsible and a straight-up careless person. There's no way that he had worked on all those ideas. So she agreed with me that he needed to see the consequences of his actions. It was important to make him just realize he could not steal things from people and take credit for them. So Mom said that it was important to have some evidence because there was, no way on God's green earth that my grandfather was going to believe me otherwise. I knew my mom was right, and so I have to start to brainstorm ideas that would help me seek my revenge on my brother. I was also very happy about the fact that my mother was going to support me in it. It was a huge relief after being treated so unfairly by grandfather. I could not wait to prove to him that my brother was a liar, and I knew I was going to make him realize one day that I'm very capable of a woman who could handle the family business really well. And I'll update you guys when I get some more info. Update number 2. Hey guys, thank you for the suggestions. I'm back with another update for you. So, my mom suggested an idea, and I thought it was perfect to expose my little brother. My mom suggested it to my grandfather to hold a competition between his 2 grandchildren. It would prove to be very healthy and helpful. My grandfather really liked the idea, and he also said that, the sense of competition between the 2 of us would compel us to work harder and come up with great plans and ideas. He suggested that we make our own terms and run an ad campaign for my grandfather's new company. My grandfather, he called both of us and told us about the competition. He also mentioned that The one who wins the competition will be the new manager of the company and will get a chance to run the company according to his or her own will. Well, you know what? I was very happy about that. I knew I was going to come up with great plans and ideas, and I finally got the chance to prove myself to Grandfather, and I was not going to let it go. I was going to utilize my chances and give my best. I was very excited. I immediately set to work and made an excellent team for the ad campaign. I knew all the people that I'd added were really good at what they did. We were going to do our best, and I began to work, and I did the best that I could. All my team members were also doing their best. I was waiting for my brother to do something, and I knew he was going to try to steal my ideas again. There's no way that he was going to try and work hard. He was not used to doing things himself. He has always wanted somebody to do them for him. He looks for the easy way to do stuff, and it was the reason he had stolen my ideas the first time. However, this time, I was well prepared for it with the help of my mom. As expected, my brother reached out to one of my team members. He called him and asked him to meet for a cup of coffee. Well, I had already instructed my team members if something like that happened, well, they would immediately inform me, and I told her, okay, go and have your cup of coffee with him, and just to know what it was that he wanted. My brother tried to bribe her, so he offered her a lot of money and said that she had to share all the ideas from the campaign. My team members agreed to do so, and she came to me and asked me what was she supposed to do. I told her, accept the money. I was very happy that everything was going according to plan. Now, I was going to send him a fake idea so that there would be no chance of him winning the competition. I sent him the worst fake idea through my team member because I knew that he would not even bother to check and amend it by using his own little brain. He just asked his team to work on that idea, which was completely flawed. At home, I observed his behavior, and I was working as hard as I could as it was evident to everyone. I spent most of my time working at home, and my brother, on the other hand, spent his days in the same way that he had previously. He just went out with his friends and slept the rest of the day. Yet he was very confident and satisfied that he was going to do well and would win. I was feeling happier seeing him so overconfident after stealing my, idea. My grandfather kept asking about our progress, and both of us assured him that it's going well. Our grandfather told us that he would announce the winner on his birthday based on the plans that we would present to him beforehand. He also gave both of us a deadline. My team and I completed our work a little before the deadline, and I wanted to make sure that nothing got late from our end, so we submitted the work, and now we're desperately waiting for our grandfather to announce the results. I will update you guys when I find out. Update number 3. So, we were waiting for the day that our grandfather was going to announce the winner, and it finally came. It was his 70th birthday, and all of us tried to make it as special as we could. The family had arranged a birthday party on my grandfather's birthday. There were some close relatives and friends on the occasion, and our grandfather had also invited some of his business partners whom he wanted us to meet. I was really excited about the huge announcement, and I was also looking forward to meeting all these amazing people who were going to be useful in our business ventures. I could not wait to be announced as the winner. After cutting the cake, my grandfather finally came to the most important part of the party for me. He said that he had reviewed both of our ideas for the ad campaign and that he had selected the winner based on those thoughts. He also added that he had been extremely fair and unbiased, and he never made unbiased decisions when it came to business. Well, I thought to myself that I hoped that was what he had done and that he had taken his decision fairly, so I knew my grandfather took everything related to business very serious, so he should not be biased in this matter. Finally, grandfather announced that I won. The moment I heard my name as the winner, I was more than overjoyed. So he also offered me the chance to join his new company as a manager. I would have loved to start as a manager, but I knew that it was not right. I would not be able to learn as much. Therefore, I asked my grandfather to let me begin with a smaller post. I was discussing this with my grandfather when all of a sudden, my brother began to yell at me at the party. Everybody stared at him and gasped in a surprise. Guys, he was shouting that I stole his idea, and I presented it as mine. My mom stepped up and scolded him that it's enough is enough. He needs to stop lying and cheating all the time. My mom's scolding made my brother realize that my mom and I planned all this from the get-go. He accused her that she always favors me and loves me more. He went as far as calling me and my mom some very slur words. As soon as he uttered that, my dad stepped up and slapped him right in front of everyone. He had humiliated himself and had insulted everyone else in the family with his worst behavior. My grandfather kicked him out of the house and asked him to leave immediately. After, my brother left, grandfather came to me and apologized for all the fair untreatment in the past. He told me that he was so proud of me and that he could not wait for me to be successful. Finally, I got the appreciation and validation that I've always yearned for. I finally heard that I'd made my grandfather proud, and now he believed in me and supported me in my future endeavors. That's probably the last update from me. Update number 4. Well, anyways, thank you for sticking around and catching up with me. So guys, after being kicked out of the house by our grandfather, my brother, still in his rebellious attitude, decided to go live with someone else rather than come back home. He asked one of his closest friends and even offered him refuge since, he had nowhere else to go. However, after spending only 2 days, he realized that life was not the same as it was at our parents' house. No matter how close your friends are when you ask them for help, especially when it requires them to give you shelter and food, their attitudes will change. It might sound perfect for a day or two, but then reality will hit. The same case was with my brother. So the first few days were all good. He was really happy, away from home without all the limitations imposed by our parents. Sleeping, using his phone all day long, but then, all of a sudden, he started noticing a change in the attitude of the people around him. His friend's mom was not nice and polite now. She started questioning him about when he was going to leave and what his next plan was, and little did she know that he had no clue about it. He was in his little delusion where he was going to stay at his friend's house for as long as he wanted without having to worry about food and shelter. But, unfortunately, life is not as easy as it seems, and it hit him exactly a week later when at dinner, they told him straightforward that they would not tolerate him for long, and he needs to figure his crap out as soon as possible. He could recognize the apologetic tone of his friend, but his parents seemed as if they would kick him out just like the grandfather of his did. Well, this was the turning point. It made him think that maybe, just maybe, he misunderstood the situation. Maybe he overreacted and mishandled it. He started missing me and our late-night talks, and we would fight a lot and almost every other night, whether it was for which movie we were going to watch or who was going to make the cup of coffee. But we also do talk a lot. He would come to me for advice. He would beg me to ask Mom and Dad for all permissions in the past. He would talk about the future a lot, but he was always very, very proud. He always wanted validation from everyone and hated it when his ideas were denied or when everyone made him feel like he wasn't good enough. And this is what got into his mind. Now, when he gave it a thought, he realized that it was stupid of him to act that way that he did. He could remember all the pep talks Mom would give, telling us that there's, no competition amongst siblings and that we're always supposed to act as a team, together, strong, not against each other. My brother's friends had refused to keep him in the house any longer, and so he had to leave. He had no place to go and he didn't have money. He was still egotistical and arrogant and hoped that our grandfather would just call him up, ring, ring, ring. and take him back. He didn't even bother to apologize to any of us, and you know what? I was expecting the same thing. That he would be forgiven and let into the business and the house, considering the fact that our grandfather had always favored him and loved him the most. Well, I was sure he would call him back really soon. But guys, that didn't happen. My grandfather realized that my brother had become really lazy and greedy, and that he could not be forgiven for the way that he misbehaves with everybody in the family, particularly with our mom. Well, we heard from one of his friends that my brother went over to a couple of buddies' house, and of course nobody could keep him in the house more than a few days. In the end, he was running out of all his money, and it hit him that he had to start doing something or he would suffer on the streets. So he began to look for a job. It was clear that he would not get one as he had no experience previously, and he's never stepped into an office or even gotten an education. He'd always relied on others to do his work, and it was all getting back to him. Now, he was unable to acquire a proper job with good pay because he had no skills or experience. He tried to apologize to Grandpa and requested that he should be allowed to live with us again. But Grandfather refused straight away, and he said that he would not forgive my brother just like that. Well, after listening to a clear no, my brother decided to settle for a job that he could find. He got a job as a salesman at a department store. It was so, weird for him and for me. Because he had always been proud of the family fortune, and he had always expected to be treated like a king. I hope this job will open up his eyes of the real world and make him realize that surviving in the real world is not a piece of cake, and that earning money takes a lot of effort and hard work. So, guys, I was reading the comments of this one, and surprisingly to me, a lot of the comments were in support of the lazy brother. They were saying, hey, it looks like the brother's trying to change. He gets the point. You guys finally did what you needed to do to get him on the right track, but keeping him out of the family's too far. Yes, he got a job because he needed one to survive at the end of the story, but keeping him out of the family was the wrong thing to do. And I just need to know, do you guys agree with those commenters? Or do you think the grandpa and everybody else has a right to cut him out? Just because of all the laziness and the advantages he was taking of other people? I do want to know your thoughts on this one, guys, because woo, it was a wild one. My name is Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories like this every single day, and right now, you're watching Mr. Reddito's Stories channel. If you want daily videos, all you have to do is subscribe, and if you, for some reason, just can't get enough videos, check out my other two channels, Mr. Reddito Animated, which is my main channel, and Mr. Reddito's Revenge, where every story has some sort of aspect of karma or sweet, sweet revenge. Guys, I'll see you tomorrow, and of course, in this crazy world, just remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.